expected to live.
Tupac Shakur is in critical condition after 2 rounds of surgery in Las Vegas. He was shot several times over the weekend in a drive-by attack. Doctors say he will survive his second shooting in 2 years.
Was in the backseat of a black BMW, part of an informal convoy of 10 cars, when Las Vegas police say shots were fired from a passing white Cadillac. Yesterday, the Reverend Jesse Jackson arrived and said a prayer at Shakur's bedside.
Jesse Jackson actually visited Park while he was recovering in hospital, and my brother was horrified, and I said, "What's up?" And he said, "Jackson can't be trusted. We know for a fact he's possibly feeding information back." I fed this information back to the Panthers, and they then decided that they'd better hurry up and fake his death quick.
Suge came to the club. We asked what was going on. Everybody was finna leave. They was finna shut 662 down. Suge said no, he gonna be all right. He was hit in his medallion. So everybody kept partying.
I'm like, "You shot, I'm finna get you to the hospital." I'm driving, telling him I'm finna get to the hospital, kick back. Pac looked at me and said, "You know what? You need the doctor more than me. You the one shot in your head." And we laughed the whole time going to find our way to the hospital. That's the conversation we had. It wasn't, Pac was a man the whole time. It wasn't that he was like, "Oh, I'm shot." He cracking jokes. He like, "Yeah, they shot me." He said, "But you shot in your head. Look at your head bleed. Look how much it's bleed." That was Pac. I'm like, "Man, shut up, I'm gonna get you to the doctor."
So he was conscious on the way to the hospital?
He was conscious on the way to the hospital. He was conscious in the ambulance. He was conscious after they did the surgery.
But I want to let all the real Pac fans know, Pac was talking according to his moms in the hospital. Now, when you look closely, the New Yorker said plotting an escape. Why would the newspaper say, entitled this part of the article, plotting an escape?
Big fat white lady that was the nurse the first 3-4 nights. She came out one night. She's like, "Oh, that Tupac of yours, he's a fighter." I'm like, "What happened?" He's like, "We almost lost him, gave him 500 cc's and whatever, and came right back too." But then she said that he was in an induced coma because each time that he came to, he'd want to pull his plugs out and get out of bed.
We've been informed that doctors have told the family members that they expect the rap star to once again recover.
Official reports that after being shot, rap icon Tupac Shakur was taken to UMC, where he died 6 days later. But local filmmaker Rick Boss has an alternate ending.
This movie is about Tupac actually escaping from the University Medical Center here in Vegas and relocating to New Mexico, getting protection from the Navajo tribe. Certain FBI agencies are looking for you. The first thing they're gonna do is block the airport so you can't travel out. So the best way to escape is through helicopter.
When Pac died, if he really did, you know.
If he really died, what do you mean by that?
I mean, when I left that hospital, me and Pac was laughing and joking. So I don't see how somebody can turn from doing well to doing bad.
So you seriously think that he might still be alive?
I'm gonna tell you this, Pac, you never know.
Tupac lives, we just can't tell you when, but the feds is watching. The feds is watching.
So basically it started from his parents to the Nation of Islam meeting with Snoop, and then the government started keeping more tabs on him and more tabs on him, and now he's talking about political stuff in his music, so the government now feels that he's a threat. So when you're, like I said, when you're a threat, the best thing for them to do is to take you out. And him being the Black Panther and his family, they're prepared for this type of assassination attempt. They're not rookies in the game. So they already were prepared for this that might happen. And he knew this. This is why he was preparing everything. Machiavelli, 7-day theory, just in case if the government was going to try something. He was right. They did try something. This is why he had the double at the MGM. The double in MGM was a real skinny guy who had the same yellow shirt walking through MGM just like he did to fool everybody. So you can't tell. So you can't tell which direction Pac is really going. Is that Pac on the left side or is that Pac on the right side? So what he was trying to do is confuse the public and any other agencies like the Federal Bureau of Investigation that might try to be following him through the casino. That agency is called COINTELPRO. You guys should research COINTELPRO, the FBI, how they secretly tap in on people and spy on them here in the United States. You guys should research that. It's called COINTELPRO.
Tupac lives, we just can't tell y'all where, because the feds is watching. Fuck them faggots.
J. Edgar Hoover planned to infiltrate and destroy and obliterate the original Black Panthers. It worked.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he used not only the FBI, CIA, or COINTELPRO, he used the media, and he used the newspapers, you know what I'm saying, to destroy them. You know, that's the power that they have of them being in control of the media and the newspaper to tell them that this is what you say about these people.
Right.
That they're animals, they're criminals, they're thugs, they're terrorists to the American government.
We always felt that it had something to do with our family involved in the liberation movement.
Keefe D. confessed to the United States government in a proffer agreement to handing his nephew Orlando Anderson the gun that ultimately killed your son Tupac Shakur. After Orlando was jumped at the MGM Grand, you've never spoken on this. How does that make you feel that he confessed to that and the government gave him a deal?
Well, I think the key question there is the government. The government gave him the deal. He was being tailed by the government the night of his assassination. He was being tailed by the government Quad Studio. It's a known fact. So I don't know this guy Keith. Maybe he had to say that to get out of some issues. I don't know. I just know it looked like a setup to me. I told this guy to stand there with the death row thing, and it pursued to what we had. But I don't think he had anything to do with the death of my son.
So you don't think Orlando Anderson had anything to do?
Not at all.
I can't go on because I'm seeing him and I'm feeling him. His energy is everywhere in the music and stuff. I'm like, he's somewhere right now, just they still sit wiring his royalty checks, and he's just enjoying life somewhere. Probably got a little harem with senoritas or something.
Pop, he out there. He's somewhere. You got two of the biggest hip hoppers out there. Don't nobody know nothing. Keep his name on the street.
You know, God, great, let me come back. You know, in his 40s or whatever. Damn, man, I'm fine. I ain't mad. I don't got no problems with nobody. I wish peace and happiness. There wasn't no one else, nowhere else to go. No one else wanted to take me. I gotta go through that myself. That's no problem. All I want to do is live my normal life. It's already not normal. When people call and say, "Guess what? I just saw Tupac. He was just a little bit." Let that shit go. It ain't news. I'm not news. Why am I always in the news? And why don't you get recognized? And they don't. They didn't even know me. Man. I still ain't even finished. I was like, you know, all I kept in my mind was one day I'll be back.
At the time when Pac passed, you know, we all got together and we smoked what we thought was his ashes. You know what I mean? Years later, we found out that they wasn't really his ashes.
We didn't know if we heard gunshots, or we didn't really know exactly what we heard. We heard a lot of screaming, a lot of cars screeching. We were just hanging out, taking photos at the time. We ran up the street as cops were running past us, and by the time we got here, they were already taking, which now I found out was Tupac, into the helicopter.
The first thing we heard was Suge Knight and Tupac are dead. That was the first thing we ever heard. I was like, what the fuck? And we were just in awe. He was like, yeah, they just, ambulance just came, they just airlifted Tupac out of here. Them niggas is dead.
So I'm sure, like, when you heard that Pac gotten shot, I'm sure you felt like, you know what, he's gonna get through this because he's basically been through so much. And he survived so many things.
I didn't feel like that, to tell you the truth. That's what they fucking said. That's what they said on the news. Like, the nigga, I mean, they said it, not me. If you were, I'm sure, I mean, I probably can remember better than anybody. But they said he was okay, stable condition. Motherfucking, you go to sleep and this nigga is fucking gone, disappeared, and all this other shit.
In the 90s, there was a newspaper called The New Yorker. Afeni Shakur, Tupac's mother, told the editor her son was talking and was trying to tell one of his cousins to pull the plug.
To my brother, well, I knew anyway, he'd gone to New Mexico with a woman called Gloria Cox. So my brother and Gloria Cox actually obtained a body which was, you know, quite overweight, and you know, the height was out.
Would it be possible to fake a coroner's certificate?
Oh, anything's possible, but I don't think it was.
I sorted some things out, and I have here a copy of Tupac Shakur's driver's license, and that was issued in May that year, and this is the official coroner's report. And if you compare those two with each other, he had gained 47 pounds in 4 months. That's really strange, is it?
And obviously a short space of time involved. They thought, well, that'd be overlooked because apparently Afeni Shakur was in on it as well, and she would identify the body as being Tupac.
The public is naive to a lot of stuff. There was a plan already to do something to him. You go back and watch the film, they was already stalking Pac, like watching him. So that just took the iceberg when something happened.
24, Tupac Shakur was a platinum-selling artist, the movie star, and an inmate at the Dannemora jail in upstate New York.
By the time that Tupac Shakur had gone to prison, he had already shot 2 cops in the city of Atlanta. The charges were dropped against him, but he'd still shot cops. So he was no favorite with law enforcement.
How do you deal with the rumors about Pac? And what do you have to say when people post videos on YouTube and say that he's been spotted with you guys? How do you respond to?
I mean, he hasn't been spotted with us. I mean, my thing is, if that motherfucker, I mean, if he my man, so if he wanted people to think that he's alive, then I'm gonna help him with that kind of shit. I've never seen him dead. I didn't go to no funeral. We didn't parade his body around the streets like everybody else. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I really don't, you know, I don't pay no attention to that shit. You probably do be seeing him, but his plan is working to fucking perfection. Nobody's gonna believe that's him after all this time. Everybody is gonna be paying attention to whatever they're paying attention to. You can say, I saw Tupac at Walmart, and everybody gonna be like, oh yeah, or it was a lookalike.
Do you know how many people think that Suge set up Tupac to get killed? Do you know this is really a thing right now in 2018? I know you don't believe that.
Because I believe Tupac didn't die.
Really? You think Tupac's still alive? For real, for real?
Vlad believes everything he reads.
No, I don't believe everything I read, but I actually interview people around the situation.
Okay, that's cool. You interview people that seen the dead body, all that. That's cool. You must live with your truth.
Right.
But
So
I'm telling you.
You believe Tupac's alive right now?
I'm just saying that every politician did not die of fucking the car crash. Then some of them motherfuckers got killed.
Okay, fair enough.
Some of them plane crashes were deliberate.
Okay.
So spill the shit over in the hip hop, man. It is a possibility.
Best rapper alive.
Tupac.
He's not alive. You said he lives on.
But not alive. I know. I keep doing that.
You said, listen, West Coast girls think Tupac lives on. I'm with you. I'm with you.
People always want to know, is Pac alive? I'm the wrong facts. But I tell you this, if you try to find the person who cremated Tupac, after he supposed cremated Tupac, he retired and vanished into the sun, into the sunset, into the darkness. After you really look at it, because Pac done all those songs, so mathematically impossible. So answer your own question. Is he here or is he dead? But at the same time, that was my little brother. His code name was Machiavelli, like mine is Simon. And if you know the story of Machiavelli, he faked his own. But at the same time, they wanted to put Pac back in prison. And Pac would fake his own disappear before he go back to prison. So you answer that. Do you still hear him? Do you still see? I'm quite sure you do. But once again, I ain't in the telling, so you never know.
When an argument took place between Tupac and Mr. Knight, I was in the limo, me and Tupac, Outlaw Mortals. We were driving around in Harlem, and the radio came on with Snoop Dogg saying that he had no beef with New York, which sent Pac into a rage. Because Pac, of course, had big beef with New York, that set Tupac off, and we immediately spun the limo around and we went back to the hotel to confront Snoop. We couldn't find him, but we found Mr. Knight, and Pac's words were, I'm gonna cut out Machiavelli, and when I cut out Machiavelli, I'm the hell up out of here. You got your money, I don't want nothing else to do with Death Row, I'm out. He's gonna give Suge all the rights to Machiavelli, he just wants his freedom, and he wants off Death Row.
Because y'all turn y'all back on me, I'll turn my back on y'all, we won't have nothing to talk about. You know what I mean? I'll go ahead and do something crazy. Just cut my nose up and, you know, bug out. Just cut my nose up and, you know, bug out.
Coming onto Las Vegas Boulevard where they were driving very erratically. They radioed that they heard the gunfire and saw these vehicles traveling in such an erratic fashion. Other officers who were working the strip area were able to get the vehicles stopped here. As you see, the black BMW was traveling on the rims on the right side. Once they got here, they found that the passenger in the black BMW had been shot 4 times, and the driver appeared to be hit with fragments in the head area.
When I heard the shots being fired, Pac stood up to try to get in the back seat to get out the way of the shots. That's how he got shot in his hip, which hit one of the bones, the doctor said, and traveled to hit his lung. When he stood up, I grabbed him down and covered him. When I pulled him down, that's when I got shot in my head.
You use that Tupac as a shield?
Definitely.
Yeah?
That's a fact.
I mean, Keefe D never said that.
Well, they pulled off. You can't see that. Like, Keefe D can talk all he wants. Let me explain something to you. When something is ringing, you pulling off. You know what I'm saying? So you can't see what's going on inside. Because remember, they say Tupac tried to get to the back by the way of the middle opening. He just could never get to the back. I don't know why a dude is this statue could never get to the back.
How did Tupac catch all that heat and Suge only got nicked? And he's 4 times bigger than this nigga. He's a much bigger target. Tupac could have dodged them bullets. It's not adding up.
Suge didn't have a... Look, unless Suge got a bullet in his head after that night, the nurse said to us he got hit with a piece of shrapnel, maybe a piece of glass. Right?
You're right.
Why would the nurse wouldn't say that if dude had a bullet in his head?
So that whole story about Suge having a bullet fragment in his head is not true?
She said he was getting a couple of stitches and he'd be taken to a private room.
Right. And I also heard you make a comment saying that, the last 2 months of Tupac's life, it was a lot of tension between Tupac and Death Row, and Tupac wasn't happy on Death Row.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, from the minute that I met him until the day he died, it seemed that the tensions with Death Row were increasing exponentially.
Deep slash with bullet grazed the back of my neck, which if it had went another inch, it'd hit my spine and paralyzed me all the way down.
Reports that this was gang related, that these were 2 gang members that thought they did it in spite of Tupac.
If it was gang related, then why didn't it happen thoroughly? You see, there's parts of this story that just don't seem to make sense.
Right.
You're saying it was gang related, so that means somebody's gang was shooting at somebody's gang, and then somebody's gang didn't shoot back. That's your story? That's not really how gang stuff works, is it?
Do you have any idea who shot Suge?
I'm pretty sure Suge knows who shot Suge.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so when he comes out of sedation, I'm sure anybody who gets shot will tell you who shot them, right?
Yeah.
But if the police say nobody shot him, I believe nobody shot him. And if nobody shot him, that's the same nobody that shot Tupac. And if nobody shot Tupac, it's the same nobody that shot MLK. And if nobody shot him, that's the same person that shot Malcolm X too. It's a lot of nobodies out there, and nobody minds if nobody comes up missing, right?
But that wasn't a hard hit. All you do is pull up just far too far from the other car. And people think that, well, Suge Knight didn't get killed. You're not firing directly. This is Cadillac pulling up. You pull up real close. We're talking about 6 inches away. But you pull up on an angle. You have to understand it's a slight angle. And you're shooting back. Suge Knight got hit with a piece of glass. He was not intended to talk. How you going to miss a 350 fat fuck like him? Excuse me for cursing. If you were shooting into a car. So it was a sign hit and a sign assassination.
And then there was a statement Suge Knight made about him and Tupac, seen here minutes before they were shot at. Suge Knight didn't help his credibility by saying he had a bullet stuck in his head, when in fact medical evidence showed he was only scratched by a piece of flying glass.
Let me ask you something. You were hit as well in that car.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing okay today? I can see your injury.
I got a bullet still in my head.
The bullet's still in your head?
Yes. The doctor told me that they did brain scans, all kind of stuff, and it went in and cracked my cranium, and it stayed there. They said there'd be more chances for damage to try to take it out to sew it up. I was hit there. I was grazed some other places. I got a deep slash of a bullet grazed the back of my neck, which if it went another inch, it'd hit my spine and paralyze me all the way down.
How you feel about the people that say you was using Tupac as a shield when the BMW was getting shot at?
First of all, even though it's one of my undercover cars, I don't ride in cheap shit or little shit. I'm a grown-ass man. You must got me mixed up with the little people, the 5-footers. So therefore, it was a big 750, you know? And if you look at the bullets and you look at everything, how it happened, and you look at the fact that where I got shot at, I grabbed Tupac and put him down and laid on top of him. That's how I got shot in the head.
Should talk Tupac into going to Vegas that night? Did he not want, like, apparently he wanted to go to Atlanta or something? Can you speak to that?
Everybody knows the rumor that, I believe it's Kenny Lassane, my boy Bill. Man, I tell you, Bill Lassane is a good dude. Will Lassane. Really like that brother. But his brother Kenny, he, allegedly stole the gun, one of Tupac guns that he had at a house and went and pawned it at a pawn shop or maybe the local man. And so Tupac heard about it and was mad. Anybody ever been on parole and I don't want to appeal bond and everybody always say, yo, Tupac. They want to say Tupac was made to go to Vegas by Suge and all of that. No, Suge liked going to Vegas and he loved having that party atmosphere and having everybody out there. He knew that it was a big marketing event because Pac was, was supposed to, I believe. No, that wasn't the time. I don't think he was supposed to walk out with him rapping a song. Some talks about that. I don't know if it was that fight or a fight prior to that. But definitely the song All Out, he was definitely playing and that was the music for the fight. And so Suge was like, hey man, you can go deal with that after that. You can go deal with that, and then, but you need to go to Vegas.
I'm going to keep telling this story because I think it's the easiest way and they're going to ask me questions about it. So we were on this nonstop schedule. Pac was doing movies. He was recording albums and we were shooting videos wherever we could. So for the first few videos, there was a bit of a tug of war because every time Pac said he wants his crew to do it, Suge and Death Row wanted someone else to do it, right? So there was always this confrontation, but it sort of felt like from the minute that I met Tupac to the minute he died, the tension with Death Row was increasing exponentially, right? And what I could gather was mostly was financial. Every week, the tension was increasing. So a couple of weeks before Vegas, Yasmin Fuller called us to the office, me and Tracy, and she said, "Go, I need you to write this letter firing David Kenner and Pac's legal team." So I wrote up the letter, took it to Pac, got his signature. I faxed it over to his legal team. And it was that day, a couple of weeks before Vegas, that he fired David Kenner and his legal team. And I believe he fired Reggie Wright and Right Way either the same day or the day after. And it was obvious. He was ready. Pac was ready to fly the coop. So for 2 weeks, they tried to get him to go to Vegas and he wouldn't go, right? Multiple times I heard that they wanted him to go to Vegas. He wouldn't go. Finally, I believe it was September 6th. I heard that Pac was going because Mike Tyson's going to walk out to one of his songs. I knew something in my gut was fucked up about Vegas, right? One, because he didn't want to go, but two, because of all the tension that was in the air.
Suge Knight and Tupac had a vicious fight in New York at the MTV Awards, and Tupac told one of the bodyguards after he was finished with a video shoot, they're walking him to the airplane. He told this bodyguard, who's a real good friend of mine to this day, he said, "I'm a dead man walking." And he said, "Pac, why would you say something like that?" He said, "Because I don't want to go to Vegas, and I got a bad feeling about it." And that was September 6th. It was a Friday because they had just finished shooting Toss It Up. Absolutely. Somebody set him up. Now, the conclusion, recently, within the last week or two, the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the FBI released a 349-page document saying that in their findings that Suge Knight and Reggie Wright orchestrated and put a hit on both of them.
I saw my son Tupac was in a hospital bed in Las Vegas, Nevada. I just gotten off the plane, and after I greeted everybody in the waiting emergency room, and when I walked through the doors, I saw something that resembled my son. Really didn't look like my son last time I saw him. Really didn't look like my son last time I saw him.
How did you feel, and what was your reaction when you heard the news that Tupac got shot in Vegas?
I was coming home from a late night, crazy night. Sun was coming up, and I think it come on the radio. And first thing I thought, Pac got shot. Like I said, the first thing you think is, damn, he got shot. Oh, he's not dead? He's gonna be all right. And then the days went, and I was calling my homegirl who took over doing some of my responsibilities after I left, so I could talk to Pac, through her and stuff. And so I called her immediately and asked, what was up? Should I fly to Vegas? She was like, no, he's gonna be all right. She was like, no, he's gonna be all right. I was like, cool. So I'm telling everybody he's gonna be all right. And then the day he died, I called her. She called me something. She said, he opened his eyes. He opened his eyes. He's all right. And I told everybody, and I walked in the house, the TV said he's dead.
Is expected to recover. And think about the liability issues of saying that a celebrity is expected to recover and then that celebrity ends up dying. I mean, they don't come out and say somebody's expected to recover unless they're pretty certain that the celebrity is going to recover.
The concept is that Tupac is so powerful an individual and has left such an impact as far as his music and his controversial views that he's not really dead. So what we've done is taken the incident after the Vegas shooting and left the possibility, however small it might be, that he's still alive.
that he went to New Mexico, that a special government organization kind of protected him medically took care of him, and that he was able to somehow survive and take a journey.
We were not invincible to bullets. And I'm standing by the fact that man wore a bulletproof vest in Vegas. I was there. I was there the whole entire weekend. And I'm standing by that.
It's a GOAT conspiracy theory.
Tupac was still alive after he got killed, living in Cuba. And we
GOAT.
believe that shit for like
Cuba?
another 6-7 years.
So we still believe that.
Suge Knight saying I did it on the Machiavelli tape in the beginning, had me listening to that shit for like a whole year.
Hey, but one thing you gotta realize is that, for as my own and our crew, for as that red team, ain't no telling around here. We don't do no telling. So wherever Pac supposed to be at is where he's supposed to be at.
This is the house in Cuba where Tupac Shakur has allegedly been hiding for the past 20 years. It might sound like just another conspiracy theory, but new claims and media reports suggest this is far more than a rumor. According to sources online, this secluded house near Havana has been identified as the possible safe house where Tupac has been living in secret, completely off the radar. Why Cuba? Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, openly supported Cuba's political system. His godmother and close relative Assata Shakur has been living there under political asylum since escaping the U.S. in the 1980s. If anyone had the network and resources to disappear, it was Tupac. Here's what the theorists claim as evidence. No verified photos of Tupac's body were ever released after he passed in 1996. His posthumous album, Machiavelli, The Don Killuminati, was full of lyrics about resurrection, rebirth, and faking one's own death. Even Suge Knight, who was in the car with Tupac the night of the shooting, once said, "You never know, maybe he's still alive."
About this, but that's the video of Tupac the night that he was in Las Vegas, and he comes from the back scenes where he's yelling about how what is his name, Mike Tyson had knocked out the guy he was fighting. I forget what's his name, I forget what his name is, but anyway, and he was like, well, that's the same thing Tupac gonna do. He's gonna knock someone out. Now, what was always strange about that is the fact that all of that was being recorded. Somebody went and edited the video enough for us to feel like Tupac was anticipating getting in a fight that night. So was that pre-planned? Because the guy that's here, the guy in the white, that's Tupac. If you can't tell that is Tupac, go back and check it out yourself. But the night that Tupac was in Las Vegas, he obviously was prepared to fight somebody, and the person he fought was supposed to be Orlando Anderson, I think, but that didn't go the way they expect. I think that was all a setup. Orlando Anderson had a shirt jersey on with 13 all over it, on both sides, back and front. The person that Tupac was fighting that night, and I'm probably going to put that in the background too, did not have a 13 anywhere. And then later we find out, that they say that Orlando Anderson was at the hospital at the time, or even at the bar at the time that Tupac was being shot. So what's this all a setup?
If they ever come get me for some bullshit and I don't want to go to jail, which I don't, I got this phobia. I ain't going to jail.
They want to put me in jail for something I did a long time ago, and I can't really blame them because I was kind of a bad person before. But now I'm trying to do something with my life and they won't let me. I can't do nothing in jail. They keep trying to shove me in jail. They talking about how overcrowded it is, but yet they still trying to shove me in there.
I can't say. I know he had no intentions on going back. I hate to say what he was planning on doing if he had to go back, but I definitely heard heard what his plans were. People would be like,
I can only assume he would have died before he went back to jail, literally.
He said he was going to have one of the outlaws shoot him in the head.
They want to put Pac back in prison. And Pac would fake his own death and disappear before he go back to prison.
What do you say to those that think people fake that Tupac faked his own death?
Did Tupac what? Fake his death?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's a very interesting question because he's no dummy, and I don't think he'd put himself in a position where he wouldn't go back. He knew if he was going back to prison, he wasn't going to get out. To tell you the truth, because he's mentioned that many times. And if you look at the Machiavelli, the 7-day theory, where the prince faked his death and came back, and his infatuation with that.
Not one individual that's talked about this letter has mentioned the fact that this little girl says he is alive. Not one. I know I'm late to the party, the cookout, whatever, but I recently came across this letter that was written to Tupac by Willow Smith when she was only 12 years old. Why is no one talking about the fact that she says, I know you are alive someplace? Not one person I have seen mention that. Obviously, this letter is so wrong for so many reasons, because it's kind of like you traumatized your 12-year-old, you know, because if you read the letter, you can see what I'm talking about. But it's so strange to me that nobody's talking about that this 12-year-old says she knows that Tupac is alive. What do y'all think?
Pac fans were saying he went to Mexico. I wonder if Heaven Got a Ghetto got the whole layout. They had Pac in the bed. They was nursing Pac back. Badass said Pac was in a hotel bed. We're going to get back. That's another topic. Remember, for years, since the Smile video, they were saying Pac was alive. Puffy and them and Nas. Puffy and Nas did You Can Hate Me Now on the cross. Scarface had to say, nah, we did that before Pac died. But they were saying, so if y'all did that before Pac died, why is the video with Biggie truck laced up? In the beginning of the Smile video, Pac fans for years calling the radio station, Hot 97. Come on, I'm talking to somebody. Hello, somebody. Come on, somebody. Right? It wasn't just Pac fans. It were people in the industry saying this video was sus. How would Pac know that Biggie truck got laced if Pac went first?
Suge Jr. has been posting images of Tupac posing with celebs, saying that the rapper lives in Malaysia now and the Illuminati knows all about it.
Y'all turn y'all back on me, I'll turn my back on y'all, and we won't have nothing to talk about. You know what I mean? I go ahead and do something crazy, cut my nose up and, you know, bug out.
Hold on, wait, stop scrolling. So I was going down the whole Mandela effect wormhole to see if I could find anything that I remember being different than how it actually was, right? So I looked up the picture of Tupac right before he died to see if his shirt was still green, which it was. But what I failed to realize was there was no keys in the ignition. Weird, right? If you don't know the story behind this picture was took right before Tupac died in a drive-by at a red light. Why are you at a red light without keys? In other words, I discovered that my whole life is a lie.
The car pulled up at Tupac. Car pulled right here. Tupac at this light. Car went that way. I was living right here in 1996 when Tupac. Right here. I ain't never told nobody. Only the both people with me know.
I mean, when I left that hospital, me and Pac was laughing and joking. So I don't see how somebody can turn from doing well to doing bad.
So you seriously think that he might still be alive?
I'm gonna tell you this, Pac, you never know.
Stop fucking with me with that. And this is my bro. You know damn well, listen to me. On some real shit? Yes, nigga. Yes. So you don't gotta ask me no more. I'ma answer this one time. This nigga asked me, was Pac still alive? Yes, he's still alive. Don't ask me that no more. Anybody with a fucking brain knows that Pac's still alive. He did that.
And they don't even know I'm fucking alive for real. I know. You know what I'm saying? I'm watching, listen to this. I'm watching the performance right now, you know what I'm saying? I think they did a good job on my animations and the way they put the computer-generated copies and stuff like that. I mean, well, anyway, this is the real Tupac Shakur, and I just want to let y'all know that I'm here, I'm live, and I'm doing my motherfucking thing. And so the Coachella concert that y'all heard, you know what I'm saying, is my little gift to my fans and everything like that out here in the world. And I want to let you know, Thug Life still continues. And we still gonna be strong, and we still gonna make this money out here. And so, to all my fans out there, letting y'all know, you know what I mean? We back, baby.
We stayed down on the Hennessy. Spice getting drunk, so I asked him about Pac. I'm like, man, what was up with Pac? I said, man, I think he's still alive. And Spice was like, man, Spice kind of broke down, and you know, he was like, "Say, bro, check this out. I'm gonna tell you something crazy." He said, man, the last song Pac did was with me and Cocaine. You heard me? And he was like, that was the same day he got killed. Like I pulled up on him. We was in a drop top. We was drinking Hennessy and apple juice, and he said we did a song, and then he left. He wanted me to go to Vegas with him, and Spice was saying he just got out of jail that day. So boom. He said Pac left, went on his way, and went to Vegas, you know what I'm saying, without him, you know, because Spice had some stuff to do. So, boom, Spice was telling me, he said that day, while they was hanging, before they did the song, they went by Pac mama house, and Pac had an empty room up there, and he had a pound of that gas up in the closet, but it was like an empty room. He had a pound of gas up there, and it had a tombstone with Pac's name on it, and the time he died, on the tombstone, just on the floor, leaning up against the wall. And Spice said he looked at it and he was like, man, Pac be doing movies. So he figured it was like a movie prop or something. So boom, he blew it off. And they went jumped in the drop, blowing, drinking. They said they were drinking Hennessy and apple juice. And
he said this was before he passed?
Yeah, this is the day he passed.
And he had a tombstone already though.
Yeah, and when they went by his mama house to get some gas to go ride around and blow,
man,
you know what I'm saying, before they go to the studio, only thing in the room was the pound in the closet, and then the tombstone on the floor leaning up against the wall, but the whole room was empty, and this was in Pac mama house.
Crazy.
So he blew it off like, man, Pac an act. This probably for a movie or something. So Spice blew it off. So boom, after Pac had passed, Spice had went back to Pac mom and was like, hey, like everybody been telling me Pac's still alive. And instantly Pac mama told Spice, shh, don't never say that again. Them white vans gonna pull up, hit you with that needle. You gonna be walking around drooling, talking to yourself for the rest of your life. You gonna be crazy. And Spice was like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Tupac joined Death Row, is it true that some of the Death Row members was jealous when Tupac joined Death Row?
Like I told you in the prior interview, of course those feathers were ruffled. They were ruffled. I mean, if you're the king of something, if you have been the #1 guy and then you get knocked down to #2 because now you're being replaced, I mean, that's how the business is. I mean, there's going to be, you know, the top guy, and he's going to sit here for a while. Like Nicki Minaj was top, and then Cardi B came in. You got to move over. And, you know, I don't think, you know, some people wanted to move over at that point.
Pac got bigger than everybody on Death Row. That's when the jealousy kicked in. I guess that's when the Pac kicked in. That's when the plan came up. Because it'd be a time where it still is. I got, you know, everybody know how I felt about Snoop. But if Snoop was coming up, people would come around and say, Snoop, let me get an autograph. Snoop, let me get a picture. Once All Eyes on Me came out, people come around, hey, Snoop, where's Tupac? Could you get him to come over here and sign my autograph or take a picture with me? Or if they see the dog pound, and they'd be like, how do you feel? That's the best thing in the world. You get to hang around Tupac. Everything was Pac.
Gang of us in that motherfucker. Castro, Napoleon get into it with Keith Khan and try to put a cigarette out of his face. Look, he was rapping, and he was just like, man, he was rapping. He was like, man, shut up. He just tried to put the cigarette out of his face, like out of nowhere. He just picked the cigarette up and just tried to put it out of his face. He grabbed his hand. He was like, man, shut up. And then he backed him all the way up, like into this real talk. This some real shit.
Hey, bitches, man.
Go ahead, talk about that.
Look here, man.
We need to hear this story.
Let me tell you, man.
So you had your main bitch.
Yeah, no, she wasn't my main bitch, but she was
a little bit in your head.
She was let's say she's a movie star bitch, right? And the bitch is there. And Pac see the bitch, he like, man, I want to meet that bitch, man. I say, hey, man.
That's exactly how he described her, the bitch.
That's my bitch, man.
Let's continue.
I'll kindly introduce you to her. So I walks over to him, right, and say, bitch, this is Tupac. Tupac, meet the bitch. So I'm trying to go see her on the late night like I normally do, you know, leave that back door open. And I'm like, what's happening? I'm finna slide through. You know what I'm saying? Leave that back door open. And the bitch hit me with, I don't think Pac would like that. Hit him up. Even when he played Hit 'Em Up the song, I didn't like the song.
Did you feel like it was
I didn't
too
like
much?
it.
Right.
I didn't like it.
What you think about the comments that Snoop made on Big Boy that went viral, where he said that he didn't like Hit 'Em Up and he wasn't a fan of it?
Well, that's funny, man. I think it's you know, for example, if he would have came off and say, you know, if Snoop would have said, you know, I'm older now, I got the grandkids. Looking back at it, I don't agree with Hit 'Em Up. I don't even like it now because you know what I mean. We get older, we mature. As I'm Muslim now, 45 years old now. You know what I mean. I might not agree with the lyrics of Hit 'Em Up, but when we was young, at that time, it was something that we was pushing. And for Snoop to say he never liked Hit 'Em Up and he didn't, you know what I mean. He never expressed that. You know, you got videos of him on stage with Pac rapping Hit 'Em Up, and he's rapping the lyrics right along with him. You know what I mean? So it's strange now that all these things are coming out and he say he didn't like Hit 'Em Up. You know what I mean? And everybody have their opinion. Even if he didn't like Hit 'Em Up back then, no problem. He have his opinion, but that wasn't the case. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? He was expressing his love for Hit 'Em Up. He was in the studio bopping his head. He was on the stage when Pac was performing it, singing the lyrics with him at the House of Blue. It's real strange that, you know what I mean? Like I said, I really think, you know, it's a lot of, maybe some of the things that he couldn't tell Pac face to face. He's able to do it in these interviews.
When an argument took place between Tupac and Mr. Knight, I was in the limo. Me and Tupac, Outlaw Immortals, we were driving around in Harlem, and the radio came on with Snoop Dogg saying that he had no beef with New York, which sent Pac into a rage because Pac, of course, had big beef with New York. That set Tupac off. And we immediately spun the limo around and we went back to the hotel to confront Snoop. We couldn't find him, but we found Mr. Knight. And Pac's words were, I'm gonna cut out Machiavelli, and when I cut out Machiavelli, I'm the hell up out of here. You got your money. I don't want nothing else to do with Death Row. I'm out. And this is the first time I've ever heard of Machiavelli before it even came out to be a CD record. That he's going to give Suge all the rights to Machiavelli. He just wants his freedom, and he wants off Death Row.
And Suge didn't want to hear that.
And Mr. Knight was very upset, and they got to yelling at each other back and forth. They confronted each other, basically to a face-to-face. I did slide in between them and said, hey, you know, you can't do this while I'm here, or I am going to have to step out of the room.
This either the moment you niggas gonna kill me, and we're gonna get some clarity in this air. We got a 5.5 hour flight. I've been around these niggas, I know how they get down. I grab me a knife and a fork, get my blanket, put my blanket over my eyes to like they right up under here. 5.5 hours like this. Sit in the back of the plane, all the way in the back. I'm the last seat. So nigga, somebody gonna get killed. Nigga, if I'm gonna get killed, somebody dying with me. I'm just, my back against the wall. 5.5 hours, nobody say one word to me. Not one fucking word. As soon as we land, they roll the little stairs down. All them niggas go out first. My Rolls Royce right here, Pac Rolls Royce right here. Go down the stairs, Pac go down. I go down, I'm like, Pac, you going to Vegas to the fight, cuz? That nigga like, that's the last thing I remember from cuz. Him doing me like this. And the next time I seen him, he was laying in the hospital. The next time I seen him, he was laying in the hospital.
Got a baby. And when Brenda's Got a Baby came out, I wasn't even in the music industry. At that time, I didn't even know Pac.
Had never met him.
No, until he came around Death Row.
You were not in Las Vegas, Nevada the night Tupac got shot.
No.
You were not in a white Cadillac the night Tupac Shakur got shot.
No. As a matter of fact, the night he was going to Vegas, I was sitting in the car with Snoop. When he pulled up beside us, they was in the Rolls Royces, and he looked at Snoop like, hey, y'all, you ain't going to Vegas? Snoop was like, nah, man. All right, man, be careful, peace. And they pulled off.
Pac, you going to Vegas to the fight, cuz? That nigga like, that's the last thing I remember from cuz. Him doing me like this.
As a matter of fact, the night he was going to Vegas, I was sitting in the car with Snoop. When he pulled up beside us, they was in the Rolls Royces, and he looked at Snoop like, hey, y'all, you ain't going to Vegas?
You know that old saying with friends like these who need enemies.
When you really look back at the history, Pac was showing major love. He was trying to include the Dog Pound in everything he had going on, even giving them honorary outlaw names. But the reality is, Snoop wasn't always being a real friend back. Between the intense pressure of the label, personal friction, and the fact that Pac essentially shifted the entire focus and stole the spotlight, things got complicated fast. Some guys were down, some were iffy, and a lot of tension was bubbling right under the surface. But the craziest part of it all, while these internal battles were tearing the camp apart, the feds were watching the whole time. Before Pac stepped foot inside Death Row Records, Snoop Dogg was the undisputed flagship artist, the crown jewel of the West Coast Renaissance. But when Pac arrived, his hyper-focused, relentless work ethic shifted the entire gravity of the label overnight. Pac wasn't just dropping an album. He was moving at a wartime pace, recording multiple tracks a day, rallying troops, and demanding absolute dedication. For Snoop, who was already dealing with his own high-stakes legal battles, having a powerhouse like Pac come in and command the room could easily breed a mix of admiration and quiet resentment. Word was floating around that Snoop could have easily become jealous, especially with the dynamic shifting, Pac stepping into his lane, and the sheer magnitude of the attention Pac commanded. When you add personal complications like rumors and changing loyalties, it's easy to see why cracks started to form in a brotherhood that looked bulletproof from the outside. The friction between Dog Pound and the Outlaws was practically inevitable. You had two distinct factions jammed into the same creative space, and not everyone saw eye to eye. Corrupt always maintained a baseline of deep respect for Pac's talent and vision, recognizing the historical significance of what they were building. Salute to Corrupt for always keeping it solid. Dash, on the other hand, was fiercely protective of his own turf and production legacy, sometimes coming across as guarded or suspicious of Pac's rapid influence over the camp. Meanwhile, the Outlaws brought an East Coast, Midwest intensity and a military-style brotherhood that felt foreign to some of the Long Beach natives. Even though Pac tried to bridge that gap, giving members of the Dog Pound symbolic outlaw names and trying to forge a united front hold habits, territorial pride and industry paranoia kept getting in the way. Hearing stories about tension between the two crews makes you realize just how fragile that alliance really was. What makes this entire era so haunting is that none of this was happening in a vacuum. Federal and local law enforcement agencies didn't just passively observe Death Row. They monitored the studio sessions, tracked the travel, and documented every internal dispute. In an environment already supercharged by paranoia, media scrutiny, and street politics, having outside surveillance quietly fueling the fire changed everything. Every minor disagreement between Snoop and Pac, every sideways glance between the Dog Pound and the Outlaws, was happening under a microscope designed to fracture the movement from the inside out. To a lot of hardcore West Coast loyalists and people who ride strictly for Pac's legacy, one of the hardest pills to swallow looking back is how things unfolded years later. For Snoop to go from being front and center in a lethal East Coast versus West Coast war where Bad Boy and Death Row were dead set rivals to eventually becoming close allies and best friends with Sean Diddy Combs feels like a jarring contradiction. Too many fans seeing Snoop link up, record, and share stages with Diddy feels almost like a betrayal of the blood, sweat, and friction of '96. Critics of that shift argue that you can't champion the raw, militant West Coast spirit of the Death Row era and then turn around and embrace the head of the opposing camp. On the flip side, some view it through the lens of survival and maturation, realizing that the corporate-driven, media-amplified beef costs lives. But regardless of which side you land on, that eventual alliance remains one of the most polarizing pivots in hip-hop history, leaving many to wonder where the line really gets drawn between street loyalty and the music business. Before we wrap this one up, I want to give a massive shout out to every single subscriber, follower, and supporter tuning into the channel. Whether you've been here since day one or you just found your way over here, your support is what keeps this going. We keep digging into these real stories and history because of you guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear the truth about hip-hop history. Appreciate every single one of you. Stay safe, Stay tuned in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Said, no, it was a white Cadillac. And he said, man, it was a light-skinned dude, looked something like you, low, stuck his hand out the window, started busting.
His boy, and he was killed months later.
You talking about Yaki Gaddafi?
Yeah.
Right.
Only viable witness. Why would you kill him?
A lot of people have died that were directly or indirectly linked to this investigation.
Yafufula was a name that a lot of people have thrown back in our faces that we were derelict in doing things. Yafufula was interviewed the night of the shooting. Yafufula gave a statement. People say we never interviewed him. He was interviewed. And the big thing is everybody says that he said he could identify the shooter. No, he did not.
Gaddafi said, no. I said, what happened? Gaddafi said, no, it was a white Cadillac. And he said, man, it was a light-skinned dude, looked something like you, low, stuck his hand out the window, started busting.
He never said that to us. He said he might be able to identify the driver. That is what he said.
He said, man, it was a light-skinned dude, looked something like you, low, stuck his hand out the window, started busting.
It was believed that Yafeu could identify the shooter.
Orlando is the shooter. He's the known shooter. I mean, everybody know Orlando Anderson was a shooter. So Dre got cold feet. He didn't want to do it. He gave the gun to Orlando, and Orlando shot Tupac and Suge.
Yeah, he did his thing, yeah.
Okay, so what was Tupac and Suge's reaction when Orlando started shooting up the BMW?
Oh, shit. Suge just ducked his head, and the first bullet went in his head, then the next one's hit him. It was like he was doing a breakdance trying to jump in the back seat or something. Yeah. Like, damn. Yeah, what the fuck? It looked like he was trying to jump in the, but it was, the bullets was in his ass.
Arm came out, fired into the BMW, and myself and the three outlaws that was in the car with me, we are just...
It was believed that Yafeu could identify the shooter.
You said Tupac tried to jump in the back seat.
It looked like he was,
when y'all start shooting,
he was reaching, and it looked like, yeah, he was trying to jump in the back seat or something. He was like breakdancing or some shit.
This is a classic photo of Tupac and one of his childhood friends and member of his rap group known as Yaki Gaddafi. Unfortunately, Yaki Gaddafi was murdered just 2 months after the death of Tupac in 1996. There is a mystery surrounding his death, and I will tell you it. The police report declared that a man named Roddy Beale, who was the cousin of Napoleon, had accidentally shot Gaddafi in the head, and Roddy Beale served 7 years in prison for the murder. However, the mystery that has been around Gaddafi's death was that many believed Gaddafi was killed because Gaddafi was the only person who could identify who the shooter who shot Tupac actually was, and that Gaddafi was silenced because of his knowledge as the only witness for Tupac's murder, and the mystery that Gaddafi could have solved has always been the subject of debate now.
Gaddafi said, no. I said, what happened? Gaddafi said, no, it was a white Cadillac. And he said, man, it was a light-skinned dude, looked something like you, low, stuck his hand out the window, started busting.
There have always been an aura of misinformation and cover-ups around the story. of my son's murder.
We tried to re-interview him. The problem was, this is a big country. People go wherever, you know, we don't have tracking devices on them. So we have to depend on people that we know we can get in touch with to try and reach out to them. Malcolm Greenidge said he could identify the shooter. We finally tracked him down to set up a re-interview. And he says, I'm not going to look at any photos because I can't identify him. Yeah, we got beat up in the LA Times over that. And I'm thinking, okay, put up or shut up, Ace. And, well, but again, Reggie Wright Jr. is the one that brought him to that interview.
Somebody asked her something about you, so I wanted to play the interaction and then get your thoughts to it, if that's okay.
Cool.
Okay.
That, do I think Reggie was ordered to kill Yafeu to cover up Tupac's murder? I have no information. Okay, I rely on facts and truth and what is presented, what has been investigated, what is solid research. That's what I rely on. I have my own opinions, but opinions are not facts. What I can say about Reggie is that he had no right to take my son and the rest of the outlaws the next day to the Las Vegas Police Department to make a statement without contacting me. Reggie had my number, you know, worked with me very closely that last year. He knew how to reach me before he took any of the outlaws. Nothing was done with the outlaws without Tupac's permission or without Tupac's office knowing what was going on. So for Reggie to have taken those boys to the Las Vegas Police Department to make a statement, all right, was an outrage to me. And, you know, those are the things that I can speak on. You know, all the rest of the conspiracy theories, you know, to be determined.
Okay, Reggie, just wanted to get your reaction to that.
Wow. I wish me and her would open up conversation before I started verbally making attacks and everything. And because she's so misinformed. I didn't take them down there to speak to the police the next day after Tupac's shooting.
Fufula was interviewed the night of the shooting. Fufula gave a statement.
You know, Tupac dying. I took them down sometime in February. Well, it wasn't February, but 3 to 4 weeks later, before his death. So it definitely wasn't the next day that I took them down. The attorneys and everybody was still dealing with stuff. And anyway, that I took them down, trust me, I got permission from Suge Knight to take them down.
Malcolm Greenidge said he could identify the shooter. We finally tracked him down to set up a re-interview. And he says, I'm not going to look at any photos because I can't identify him. But again, Reggie Wright Jr. is the one that brought him to that interview.
There was a conspiracy. There were lies. Witnesses were being threatened. Tupac had just been murdered 2 months prior. We always felt that it had something to do with our family involved in the liberation movement. Cass had Yaki in a chokehold, and Rashad pulled out a gun and shot him.
A member of Tupac Shakur's entourage, a witness to the shooting that left the rapper mortally wounded, has himself been on Sunday, is further complicating an investigation already hindered by uncooperative witnesses.
Who toured with Tupac Shakur, 19-year-old Yafeu Fula, was shot in the head early Sunday morning on the 3rd floor of the housing project where he was visiting his girlfriend. She found him slumped on the hallway floor. Said he'd made a joke as he answered the door.
He said, yeah, wait for somebody to come to... We all started laughing like, just get the door. But then he came to the door.
Next morning, you know, after Gaddafi, you know, we got... and all this, then that's when Fatal called. He was like, yeah, for groups, you know, he was like, I'm not even rapping no more. Niggas I'm about to be in the streets, doing whatever. He went to speak to Napoleon, and they get on the phone, and it was an instant, like, fatal, like, I'm gonna find him. And
in a candid interview, Napoleon discussed the tragic incident.
Your cousin ended up accidentally Gaddafi?
Yes, yes.
Napoleon revealed that while Roddy maintained the shooting was accidental, he never pressed his cousin for details, fearing that deeper questioning might uncover a more unsettling truth.
It sounded like it, my cousin told me it was an accident. I never really, because it was hard for me. I never sat down with him really, besides that day, and talked to him about it. You know what I mean? And since he been home and the times I've been around him, I never brung it up again. You understand? I just really want to accept it as an accident, because I don't want to think, something intentionally happened to Gaddafi,
Outside of those who knew him personally, fans mourned the loss of an artist they believed was destined for greatness. Some called him one of the best of his generation. Others were left wondering what could have been. Yaki Gaddafi was born on October 9th, 1977 in New Jersey. Standing tall at 6'3". He carried a presence that matched his stature. But beyond his physicality was a story deeply rooted in activism and music. Gaddafi's parents were prominent members of the Black Panther Party. This connection intertwined his life with that of Tupac Shakur, whose mother was also a Black Panther.
Many friends now mourning his believed Fula and Shakur were half-brothers. It is clear they were close, both shown here with the West Side symbol that stands for gangster rap.
I'm the type of motherfucker that gotta have my own. I got to hustle for my own. And any man out there got to feel me.
There's always been this rumor that Pac was gonna leave Death Row. You believe that?
Yeah, of course. Eventually, everybody gotta leave. After you grow, you gonna leave. That's a no-brainer. So it ain't no shock. There shouldn't be no shock to nobody. He wasn't finna be under Suge, throw on forever.
And he was like, nah, you don't want to sign to Death Row. He said, wait for me to start my label. You gonna sign to my label. He said, I'm gonna start my label, you gonna sign to my label.
Or a lot of you've got opinions on whether Pac was gonna leave Death Row or not. So let me be abundantly clear. Pac was leaving Death Row.
Threatened to blow up Death Row studio. He was fussing about that he wanted his master.
Tupac was done with Death Row.
Earlier this week in the New York Post that Tupac was looking to leave Death Row Records. Is that true?
You should answer that. You don't take a person like Tupac who, if you listen to every song on All Eyes on Me, every song on Machiavelli, every time he do an interview, what's the first thing he say? Death Row.
I'm the type of motherfucker that gotta have my own. I got to hustle for my own. And any man out there got to feel me.
Tupac loved me, I loved him.
So now that's where another conflict come at. Cause I'm Tupac, man. I'm an actor, I'm a rapper, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm everything. I don't need Death Row no more, man.
I mean, Tupac took Death Row to the next level.
He already got all the tools. He got all the promotion, all the marketing, all the people. He got everything he need, don't need you no more.
I mean, if you'd asked Tupac that question, that was he planning on leaving Death Row, he definitely would cuss you out.
Tupac liked his Suge, or do you think at the end of his life he was getting annoyed with him, where it was like, let me get the fuck out of here, I don't really...
I mean, look, a lot of people have said they were like brothers or whatever. I only got to see the experiences of him yelling and screaming either at Suge or Death Row employees trying to find out where his money was, right? So Pac was supporting like 40 people. Pac's family was not small, right? He was supporting a lot of motherfuckers. So I can only imagine what the weight of having everyone relying on you must have been and not getting your checks sent to you, right? Because at one point, I remember hearing that Tupac's $700,000 check for acting in Gridlock had also gone to Suge. And Pac was on the phone yelling and screaming about, why the f***'s my movie money coming to you?
Anybody that knows Tupac, he is his own person. Pac was never going to be controlled for too long. When I say controlled, meaning if the person that runs that label is telling you when you can do this and how you can do this and what you got to do and da-da-da-da-da, that was going to play out eventually, I believe.
I'm the type of motherfucker that gotta have my own. I got to hustle for my own. And any man out there got to feel me.
I was very happy when Tupac gave me the okay to type up David Kenner's your services are no longer needed letter. And we faxed that over to him immediately because it was a conflict of interest.
According to Richard Fishbein, the lawyer representing Tupac's estate, was that Tupac agreed to appoint as his lawyer the longtime lawyer for Suge Knight and Death Row, David Kenner, who says there's no conflict in what he did.
You just have to think about the consequences of coming in to have an agreement signed with the lawyer, and the lawyer walks out not only representing this side, but representing both sides.
Tupac's mother says no one at Death Row would give Tupac an accounting of his money.
He asked over and over and over and over again for accountings of the things that he did, of the monies that came in and never got them.
Tupac's family says Tupac was fast catching on and preparing to break free of his reliance on Death Row.
He thought he was quite rich and that his family would be rich forever. I discovered he had next to zero.
A few days before, he formally sent a letter telling David Kenner that he no longer can represent him and basically firing him.
A week before Tupac's death, he fired David Kenner, and people said publicly, that's going to get him killed. It's going to get him killed.
We've talked about the shooters. We've talked about the gang ties. We've even talked about the feds watching from the shadows. But today, we're looking at the money. In late 1996, Death Row Records wasn't just a label. It was an empire. And Tupac was the engine printing tens of millions of dollars. But what happens when the biggest star in the world realizes the math ain't adding up? What happens when a general decides he's done taking orders? Look, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Was Pac leaving Death Row Records still a topic of discussion? Honestly, I think Pac was too much of a leader not to be his own boss. I know it was talks of Death Row East, but Pac was tripping off his money right before he died. So I think he saw past the dream Mr. Knight was trying to sell him. I think Pac would have stuck around Death Row longer if the business was right, but they was robbing Pac. I heard members of the Outlaws saying they wasn't sure if Pac was leaving. But personally, I don't think he told them everything. They was Pac riders. I think if Pac told them they was playing with his money, the energy in the building would have been more crazy than it already was. I think Pac didn't want his people to sign the Death Row for a reason. Pac's own mother said he had next to nothing in his account when he passed, and his cousin said Pac was leaving. I think Pac was leaving too, personally. He fired Kenner and Reggie Wright. He for sure shook up the Death Row record system. Personally, I'm not counting anyone out as suspects. Pac was surrounded by snakes. Let's break down exactly what that means. You don't fire David Kenner, the architect of Death Row's contracts, unless you are preparing for war in the boardroom. You don't push back against Reggie Wright's security detail, unless you feel like the people protecting you are actually the ones watching you. Pac wasn't just leaving. He was building his own lifeboat. Machiavelli Records was the escape plan. Keeping the Outlaws in the dark wasn't a betrayal. It was a tactical move by a general who knew his soldiers would crash out if they knew the truth about the money. He needed them safe while he dismantled his ties tonight. So we have to ask the question, is this the real reason Tupac was murdered? Think about the timing. You have an artist who just generated over $60 million in revenue, sitting with a near zero bank balance, officially firing the label's untouchable lawyer and moving to launch his own imprint. If Tupac walks away, Death Row's golden goose is gone. If Tupac takes his unreleased masters and the Outlaws with him, the empire crumbles. In the streets, people get killed for hundreds of dollars. In the music business in 1996, what do you think happens when millions of dollars and total control are on the line? Tupac figured out the game, and he was making his move. But in a building full of snakes, shaking up the system is a deadly decision. Tupac figured out the game, and he was making his move. But in a building full of snakes, shaking up the system is a deadly decision. What do y'all think? Did Pac's exit strategy get him killed, or was it just a tragic coincidence that he fired Kenner days before Vegas? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the Babe Bomber TV, and turn on notifications because the investigation never stops. We out.
On the night that Tupac before he got to the studio, he was on the phone. Tupac was on the phone arguing with somebody, and it was really aggressive. Tupac was saying, yeah, well, whatever, suck my dick, fuck you. When you see me, right? And yeah, I'm gonna pull up. I'm on my way there now, right? So when he hung up the phone, they asked him, yo, who was you on the phone arguing with like that? And he said, some nigga named Jimmy Henchman.
Well, I think it's almost safe to say Jimmy Henchman was a main player in the setup of Pac at Quad Studios. Honestly, Pac was a wild, young guy dealing with a heavy hitter, and he probably didn't know what he was truly capable of. His history definitely speaks for itself. He for sure was the most powerful and calculated individual connected to the situation. Years later, this was backed up by history when an insider formally confessed that Jimmy Henchman paid him $2,500 to ambush Pac on November 30th, 1994. This proves it wasn't an East Coast issue. It was a personal power play because Pac refused to bow down to Henchman's demands. Personally, I don't think Big had anything to do with the situation, but Puff is questionable, especially with him walking out with Henchman after the situation. Dropping Who Shot You was a massive marketing move, but Puff started the fire. It's crazy for people to think Pac was wrong for responding how he did. He had just faced a major ambush and they dropped Who Shot Ya. I would have thought he had something to do with it too. As time went on, we found out the song actually was made before the incident. But still though, it's the principle and bad timing. You don't play with marketing like that when real lives are on the line. Ultimately, the question is, did the East versus West narrative help disguise what really happened to Pac and Big, and were the situations connected? One thing I do find odd is Pac and Big clearly said it wasn't an East versus West issue, but the media still pushed that narrative. Honestly, when it comes to Puff and Knight, I don't think they cared about setting the record straight because the narrative was bringing in millions, and conflict sells a lot faster than peace. Both sides capitalized on the hyper-promoted tension by letting the public believe it was a geographic war. The real agenda stayed hidden in plain sight. Pac lost his life after that altercation at the MGM Grand, but personally, I think it could be part of a cover-up. There are just too many loose ends, missing files, and convenient distractions for it to be that simple. And Biggie's situation in March 1997 wasn't just regional fans avenging Pac either. It was a highly coordinated event that left more questions than answers. The East versus West war was brilliant for corporate magazine sales and driving platinum albums, but it served as a shield for the individuals involved. It allowed the real forces to blend into the background of a cultural war, while two generational icons paid the ultimate price. That's revealing the real history behind the headlines. What do y'all think? Did Puff and Sugay know exactly how dangerous this game was getting, or did they lose control of the situation they helped create?